Hello and welcome to the Wednesday check-in presented by the Goxty News Network. Today is November 12th, 2025, and I'm your host, Landy, and we are looking at Bitcoin to start with here on the daily time frame, and the setup is very, very clear for either continuation or a possible reversal setup that could form. Now, continuation is kind of the name of the game. If the lows are dropped, that one's pretty easy to identify. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk a little bit about the most recent rejection from a very, very key area, that being right around a weekly at 107 to 108. I did talk about a bounce into that area on Monday, and we did get that, I believe, from Monday coming into the Tuesday session. So we are playing between major weekly support and major weekly overhead resistance. So let's dig right into the daily here. I'm going to throw on the swing chart. The setup is absolutely clear. Drop the low, and we get continuation. And I'm going to show you why this would be very, very, very important for the bulls and the bears to watch, because downside price action probably would resolve pretty quickly to some of the key areas that I've talked about prior. Mid 90s and then upper 80s to lower 90s being the next kind of continuation areas of interest below the key levels that Bitcoin has been kind of bouncing around on the daily, which is right around the low side structure here, which is a major weekly between, of course, $98,000. Oh, hey, look at the lower seconds right at $98,000. And 101, where we have not seen a close below 101, although it's gotten close. Even in yesterday's candle, 101,640 here, it's gotten fairly close, but that would be the bearish continuation with expansion and a perfect rejection around a basis band, which was also major overhead key resistance at 107 to 108. And look, that is the more likely outcome until we see something like a potential for a trend reversal setup, because we do now have a lower high that is closer to price action. We can make the criteria very, very clear. Closes above 107.5 here would break the downtrend, but what we need to watch out for is higher, lower, equal low structure as it relates to this last lower low. So this is going to be the red zone down here, and there's going to be a few different pieces of criteria to watch out for here. Swings down can set up that close above, right, of this 98,950 or whatever this is here on Coinbase. Yes, 98,950. So that would be, look, close below there. We're probably already swinging down to some lower levels. You can see that we have the lower third standard deviation right at 93.5. Oh, wait, that's another big weekly level. There is a daily level above there, 94 to 96, with a point of control somewhere around that $95,000 to $96,000 area. But in reality, the major support area is going to be around that 93.5, which is a close open weekly structure, down to a lower high and a swing higher low, which is equal at 89. And the lower high close at 86. So big stuff going on here on the chart to pay attention to. While we could get deviations of the low here, closes below, we're probably already hunting down. And if we did see a close below that didn't hit some of the downside targets, we'd need to see, this 98,950 recovered very quickly, or at least remaining inside the weekly closer to $98,000. And then maybe throw some bullish divergence and then try to take out the high here. But in general, what are the bulls looking for? They're looking for a trend reversal setup, and that would be higher lows or equal lows as it relates to this last low. So look something like this, right? On a closing basis, whether it closes inside of these lows really doesn't matter. It's all about the higher low swing. If it does swing into this low side structure and close inside here, you don't want to see the swing come down below the 98,950. If we see a swing below, and then we see the close come in somewhere like, let's just say like the close came in here and it was a lower low close somewhere like around here for the candle, and that would be still a trend reversal setup, but it wouldn't be on a higher low. It would be on a lower low, and we'd be looking for the trend break. The bulls would prefer to see no closes lower than the close open structure right here at 101,290, right? We're pretty much right there on yesterday's close, just 300 and something bucks above. And that's where the close could be a lower low swing, lower low close, and still remain above the weekly and then try to go for the trend break. That, of course, would be a character change for the daily. The bulls would prefer to just have this area hold up right here on a close and a swing and put in a higher low. That would be the straight up trend reversal setup to trend break. But if we do get something that is closer to equal lows, or we see slightly lower lows with a close back inside, that would also be a closing lower low, or a recapture of this, like a quick close below and then close right back in, that would be, still a lower low, and we'd just be looking for the trend break and then the actual trend reversal setup on a higher low or equal low. We'd have to wait for later, something like that, right? That would be the trend reversal setup. So it's either a trend reversal setup right here, right now, with no closes lower, and swings remaining above, the 98 or 99 950 here, or it's going to end up painting a lower low type of a structure. Lower low close with higher low swing technically is a trend reversal setup, but I don't like those as much as clear higher lows on both a swing and a close to have a well-defined picture for a trend reversal setup. So more than likely, what we're going to be looking for is price trading back above 107 and a half to get a trend break, and then look for the trend reversal setup on a higher low or an equal low setup from there, and kind of come back to it. That would be the bullish case. Otherwise, we're looking for continuation to new lows. And this is a big zone. So understand the significance of this area. Understand the significance of time. And that time is very significant. And Bitcoin has spent a lot of time in this significant area. So understand the significance of the passage of time in this zone of interest. And this is going to be where we can pull up the sorry, I had to reiterate a very famous quote. But this is big. This is a very big area. Lower second standard deviation down here. Unless it gets closed below, I'm not looking for continuation. Swings below are fine. If I don't see closes below, it's fine. We're not looking for continuation. It's right at the edge of this major weekly. I've called it 98 to 101 just for, the sake of being easy with the numbers here. It is actually 98 to 2501 to 101 or 100,996. We haven't had any closes even in this area since coming back down here after the breakout of this, this structure originally. Which was the 112, and then come and test some of the high side structure in the prior range. We haven't had any closes since the actual breakout in this red zone. So even that would be kind of caution, right? Closes below it, that is continuation. We're looking at continuation, mid 90s, around 94 to 96. You can call it 95K even. And then from there, lower. We'd be looking significantly lower, and it would probably happen pretty quickly. We'd probably see a lot of OI wiped out. We already saw a lot of OI wiped out on this this failure to push above the weekly here. And actually, let's go ahead and talk about this, because this was such a clear area to be looking for rejection. I don't know why people were so surprised. Even in lower term timeframes, I'm going to bring you down to the lower term timeframes. Like daily rejection in this area was freaking just the most obvious thing in the world here, even on the hourly. Like, look at the perfect price action here. So we start coming out of the weekly zone, tagging the 1272. We come back, we have a consolidation, come back to the 1272, push up to the dailies here around the 105 area, push up to the low side swing that was telling us, hey, caution over here, that if this breaks down, we're done. It was actually over here, and we saw the cautionary tail here, after the big rally to the failed rally to 116. It failed to break through that top side at 118. We came back down, started to show weakness below it, rallied to the dailies inside of the weekly, sat on the weekly, broke down to the daily, rejected the weekly, and then right on down to the 1272 and then the weekly. Well, the rally back to the top side, it's just going stage by stage. I mean, look at even that low. We got the 1272, a little bit of a pause there in the hourly, up to the daily, a little bit of higher low structure, expansion up into that low at 106,650 right there. And then a little bit more consolidation, and then a run for the actual weekly overhead resistance between 107 and 108. And then subsequently lost the daily, rejected it, came back down, got a very clear rejection yesterday in the early going hours, pre-market for the U.S., and then right down into the weekly here. If this holds up, I will say cautionary tale. If this holds up and we see the 107 taken out, probably very likely going to find Bitcoin, try to surge through this 107, 108 to the big weekly here at 109 to 112 on the top side. There is some daily levels of interest, obviously, where we saw this consolidation before the breakdown to new lows, right around the 109.5 to 111 area inside of that weekly. So we've got stacked weeklies and lots of daily overhead resistance. But if we do start to see, especially top side breakout 108, we're looking to that weekly at 109 to 112 as the next big area for the bulls to try and push on through. And of course, that would be a trend break on closes above, right? For 107.5, this most recent swing high, that would be a trend break. So that's what the bulls need to see. Otherwise, we're looking for continuation to the downside. I wouldn't get too scared of consolidation structures in here unless you start seeing it get expansion towards the end of the daily on the bottom side there. Then we're either already hunting lower prices or will hunt at lower prices. And, the weeklies, I just got to reiterate, the weeklies are kind of the name of the game right now in terms of the major support and resistance areas. The dailies aren't really doing much outside of providing for very lower term time frame bounces and rejections. The weeklies are where we're finding those big pockets of liquidity. And just, all I got to do is, this is very easy, just highlight all of the weeklies in this area. Look at the weekly high. To the closes up here, right? Like you've got this close open right here that Bitcoin is below, right? This is massive over here. Like this is not the position that the bulls want to be in, right? But we've got the close open at 102.5 to the high there at 109,360, but that even encompasses the prior close open at 104.5 or 104,450 to the 108.4 high over here, right? And then we have the close open right in here at the 109 to 112, right? So we've got stacked weeklies overhead, and this is very important to understand, so bear with me, but we've got stacked weeklies overhead that were highs. We've got the higher low structure right here, which, by the way, pretty well confluent with the close open over here of a low side structure that was set, eventually that ended up in a high side structure. But we had basically the same candle that set the low side structure. We saw the 3 candle structure for the high come off of that candle. And this is not the place that the bulls want to be. They need to recover quickly, but look at here, overhead resistance. We've got the highs here. Still, we're below those. We're now on the low side. So we've got this high side structure on the weekly, this high side structure, this higher low on the weekly, right? So we've got stacked weeklies overhead. Just beware that, we're right in the thick of it. And if it does drop the bottom side, it's really all about 93.5 to 86 essentially for closes. And, you can be a little bit more aggressive because we did find a pretty much perfect swing low to swing lower high here as an inflection point at 89. But, that doesn't mean that it's going to be it doesn't mean we're going to be pissing rainbows when we get down there for the bulls, because that could very easily come down to that $86,000 level if it does get rolling to the downside. Why? Because we are now starting to show that Bitcoin is trading below the lower second If it loses this low at 98,225 while trading and closing below the lower second, that's expansion into support. You lose it, it's through support, it's to the next major weekly level. So understand kind of the predicament that the bulls are in and the opportunities that they could set themselves up with on that daily that I was just talking about, because there is an opportunity should this low hold on this weekly, meaning this weekly over here. If this holds, the bulls can set up a nice opportunity for themselves to run the tables on the bears right back to the top side, right? That is still open as long as they're trading and closing inside of this weekly higher low structure over here. But the edge favors the bears if this is going to continue to close below the lower second and not make any progress to the upside. Obviously, still a downtrend on the daily. Drop this low, and down we go. All right, that's going to be it. Just identify opportunity when it presents itself to you on the dailies, weeklies, so on and so forth. Don't get scared. Lower price. Everybody wants lower prices for Bitcoin, and then when we get lower prices for Bitcoin, they're like, "Oh no, it's all over." Well, yeah, if you didn't get in and get Bitcoin, and it's going down, you should start thinking about getting in and getting Bitcoin. Right? Just make the levels logical on where you're going to start accumulating, right? Not financial advice, of course. Trade however you want, bid on it however you want, buy, sell, whatever you want. Doesn't matter to me. But I do hope that these videos helped you. Please like and share them out there. The setup is very, very clear right now. It doesn't get much clearer than this. Hanging right on a support for criteria for a downtrend break, for criteria for continuation. Like those two options are as clear as day right now. We still have, of course, the Thursday session and the Friday session. Thursday session's open right now. Watch carefully. Yes, I know the government's opening. But a lot of this was not price action driven by narratives. This is moves being made around major support and resistances. And yeah, I'll catch up with you again on Friday for the Friday wrap up. I hope you all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, and evening, no matter where you are in the world. Please trade safe. And of course, as always, stay safe. With all of that being said, Landy out. Take care.